You don't just practice until you get it right once. You practice until you cannot get it wrong, right? I don't even know if you guys can hear me because I got my microphone all the way over here. You practice till you can't get it wrong. So I'm gonna say a decent bit of that again just to make sure we get it down. But having this stuff ready, and you don't have to have some script, you don't want it to sound fake, but having this stuff ready to go, having your repetitions in and your practice so that when you hear the defeater line, when you hear, them say some goofy bullshit that's supposed to stop you in your track, oh, well, Hillary did that too. You push on past that and you make them think in a way that they never have because they heard, oh, that's a really good point. That'll shut up those dirty libs, but you still keep coming. You have this stuff memorized. You have these individual points down pat so well that when they get brought up, you can throw out the one individual. Oh, well, what about COVID vaccines? Don't you think people died there due to like a collective delusion? And have the receipts. Back up your shit. These people get quiet when they get called out for the information that they don't have. It's very, very easy to embarrass a maggot, to have them spinning in their heels. Obviously, that's not the best way to convince everybody, but if it's just pushback that you can give or just sitting down and being sitting idly by while people spout the hate, while people spout the lies, I can't do that in my own life. If you want ways to do it, I will show you here. We will have people go over reviews of stuff exactly like this so we can see how people do it, and I will highlight the moments that work well. Having that counterexample to, or maybe you thought it on the spot, but having that counterexample to that mass delusion and thinking of the COVID vaccine, these are good examples to have. Keep these things in your back pocket. Keep these things in your repertoire so when you are put on the spot, you are well practiced, well versed, you know exactly what to hit and what to say, but don't lie. Don't make it disingenuous. Don't go into a speech. Deal with each person like you would a person, but understand that you will be better prepared if you take the time to do this rather than feel like everybody's had that conversation where you feel like you come up with everything you wanted to say an hour afterwards. The way to get around that is practice. Practice, 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 practice talking with these people. If you need someone to play devil's advocate, genuinely, if you are watching my stream and you think that you talk to maggots or you talk to a side that you cannot get across to and you need someone to play a devil's advocate, you message me in the chat. It has to be something related to something I care about, like politics or something like that. Don't talk about, like, I'm sorry, I care about your pets and stuff like that, but don't talk to me about your dog or something like that. But if you need somebody to pretend to be that maggot for a little bit so you can get your repetitions in, reach out to me, reach out to somebody in your life and have them play the character. Be better at this. We are losing our common areas to these people because they are willing to have the conversations that apparently we are not. We need to be ready to have these conversations, and I think this is a good way to prepare. So if you're here, if you're with me, I really do appreciate it. Like, follow, comment, subscribe. We're going through the things that I think are important, and I think really right now, as a lot of these paradigms, whatever you want to call them, as a lot of people's ideas about where we sit as a country shift, as Supreme Court, the more and more stacking up against the executive starts to look worse, as the big beautiful bill comes out and then people get economically worse. As we start seeing these things, we'll need to turn over as many as we can in that time, because there will, at least by my reckoning, there will be challenges to a free and fair election in 2028. So we will need all hands on deck to stop the bullshit.
Hey. Yeah, so thanks a lot for Travis, right? This is Travis for flying me out, man. Good to see. The audience is great here. So Destiny, yeah, thanks guys. Good. So Destiny, I wanted to ask you this, man. You've stated in the past that I guess that the MAGA right is notorious for violence. You said this, you called them degenerates, etc. That Trump kind of insinuates a lot of the rhetoric and the actions of Trump supporters. Am I more or less correct on that?
I don't usually criticize them for violence. I think I think the tendency, I mean, especially since the BLM stuff, there's more, at least cumulatively, violence for left-leaning people. But I would also kind of expect that right now, given the state of affairs.
Oh, okay. So, wait, when you say that you expect the violence from the left on the state of affairs,
as in, like, if you have like a certain system where people feel like somebody is completely and totally out of line, and that person is using the power of the executive to be totally out of line. Well, they're like, what would conservatives even enact violence about? They would have nothing to protest. They'd have nothing to riot over. I imagine it would be probably more left-leaning people that would be rioting.
That would be rioting?
Yeah.
So, like, for example, like the Tesla burnings that were happening, it was all premeditated. They had the Doge, dogechase.com or something like that kind of premeditated all that. So like my thing is that when I look at the Trump election and how he got elected, and maybe I can ask you this. I think one of the reasons that Trump got elected in the first place was because when you say like for
I think it's a good point, by the way. One of the things that Destiny tries to do, and you can do this, I don't know in my own life how much caveating and being good faith actually gets you, just because in my own conversations I've been burned by it, where I've extended good faith literally the entire time and the other person just doesn't, and then even the audience members miss out on it. But this is a good Destiny tactic. I shouldn't call it a tactic. One of the communication styles that he uses is quick with concessions and then expecting the same from your opponent, because you gave the, and not concession in like a, oh, I'm ceding some part of the argument, but if there is something true where they ask you a grounding question like that about violence or something like that, you just answer it honestly, quickly, like Destiny did. He calls it biting the bullet. You can get out in front of it, whatever you want to call it, but it's that being honest about your own side's faults, so that when you make criticism from the other side, or when they refuse to take that criticism, you can point out the stark difference between these two things. So yeah, you told me about the violence and I instantly admitted it, but then I talked to you about January 6th and all of a sudden it's a Fed surrection and it's all this bullshit. You see how one of these people is honest and the other people isn't? I don't know how much actual effect this has in the audience, and I haven't done large enough sample sizes or anything like that to make any sweeping claims. But to me, I think it's a good one to employ, especially on an interpersonal level, because I think individuals in conversations are better at picking up on this than audiences, but I don't even know in those interpersonal ones if it works a great deal of the time. I like it, me personally, because I think it's the most honest way to do things. If you have something like that, me, when it comes to apologies, if I'm in a relationship or something like that, I'm really quick to apologize. I'm really quick if it's not quick to apologize as in the apology is cheap, but if I know I did something wrong, or if I know my side did something wrong, making these quick concessions, it gets them out of the way and not brushes them under the rug or makes small of them, but just everybody can know that this person is grounded in a reality despite any bias that they may have, because they can look at these situations as, I call it, the way I describe it is, I'm a balls and strikes guy. I don't care how mad I am at you or whatever. You ask me, Chris, is that a ball or a strike? Am I an asshole or am I not? If I fucking hate you, but you were being a good person in this one situation, no, you were in the right, they were in the wrong. I fucking hate you still, nothing has changed, but I'm a balls and strikes guy. The umpire can fucking hate a player, can do that stuff. They probably shouldn't, but they could. But the idea is that you are impartial when it comes to being asked for your judgment. This is one of those moments where you can show you're being asked, hey, what do you think the violence levels on both sides are? He bites the bullet, he jumps right on it. I'm a balls and strikes guy. I would say this, but let me give my explanation as to why. I think the left might be doing more violence, but it's what you would expect because the right is getting what they want right now. The maggots are very happy. Why would you expect a lot of right-wing violence? Most likely not. You'd expect the left. You'd expect the stuff with Tesla and the burnings and stuff like that.
For example, with your other opponent here, when you say the MAGA right is a cult, I'm thinking in my head that the Democratic Party at this point is actually a cult as well.
So is that an admission that he's saying it's a cult, and then we're just all cults? Is this equivocating or equating where, yeah, we might be a cult, but you guys are definitely a cult if we are?
Regardless of what it is. Now,
Who's our cult leader?
oh, well,
That is a great question.
here's the thing. I don't know who the cult leader is, but it's the
Wasn't that kind
Democratic
of
Party as a whole, right? No, well, here's the thing. It could be
That is a true defeater. This person, I remember this now. This person stumbles over this, and this is a big point. Yeah, it's not common for a cult to not have a cult leader. There usually is someone either alive or dead. Because look at Scientology and L. Ron Hubbard. Somebody else runs it, but they still use the same person as their deity or as their semi-god, whatever you want to call them. It is an important part to have that lightning rod figure.
a cult without it because, like, for example, vote blue no matter who. You've heard that phrase, right? The anti-Trump tour, like we're on right now. It's a cult that's against Trump no matter what.
That this person is just totally missing out on what a cult is, so we just have to back it up.
No, well, here's the thing. It could be a cult without it because, like, for example, vote blue no matter who.
Vote blue no matter who. So what is he saying? It's dedication to a party over another party has to be cult-like following. He is missing out on a fundamental thing here. What we are saying is Trump could rape your mother today and you would still vote for him. We are saying that people should vote blue down the ticket. Never would we say that if one of these people raped your mother, you should do this thing. But I talk to maggots where they are asked that exact question and they hesitate. They don't understand, or they won't engage with the hypothetical that Trump could actually do wrong, that Trump could be tricked. This is why it's a cult. This is why having that figure is actually really fucking important, as opposed to, oh, well, we have an organization that we support, because of the two organizations available to us as viable options, one of them is evil and Satan. So yes, we say, yeah, you should support this one all the time. I don't think that that makes us a cult. And I shouldn't say evil Satan, because that's giving them like too much of a name, too much vilification maybe, or grouping, or whatever we want to call it. But these people are actually trying to destroy the country that we know and love. So saying that you're going to be in opposition to them no matter what isn't cult-like thinking. And this goes back to when people complain that Trump has been prosecuted more than any other. It's like, oh, well, it's persecution. You know, they're coming after him. And the only reason they're coming after him is because they hate him so much, and that's why he has so many court cases. The simple question I ask to anybody who makes that defense for Trump is, what would you expect the courts to do, or the level of prosecution to be, if someone broke more laws than anyone else ever has? You're saying that more court cases have been brought against him than ever. I am saying he committed more crimes, so that is exactly what you would expect. Not even outside the norm. It is exactly what I would expect. The person who committed the most crimes in history gets the most punishment. Yes, that's the thing. And he was in the most powerful position in the land, and he was able to do it with impunity for so long, like no actual charges coming down, nothing actually sticking from that first term, nothing actually sticking from the 2020 steal. These are the easy moments for me to point to where, yes, you deserve an extra level of vilification. You deserve the Democrats going against you, because you are the only other option. It is Democrats or Trump now. And our saying that is a representation of how evil and awful he is, not necessarily our dedication to Democrats over the Constitution. And that might be an interesting question. If you think we're a cult so bad, what do you think we support when we say vote blue no matter who? Do you think any one of those Democrats is saying, oh, well, that means we're going to vote for a person who doesn't support the Constitution, or we're going to vote for something that's going to do away with the Constitution? Absolutely not. There are lines that every one of those people would draw. So taking one slogan from a party that is standing in opposition to Trump, who is actually saying, I'm going to suspend the Constitution for a day, the vilification that you feel, and he is attributing to, oh, this must be a cult because you hate him so much. No. The hatred is well placed because he has done the most harm. He is the worst, so he deserves the worst treatment. That is what it is. It is matching. And this goes back to something that I've heard in conversation really recently. If you talk about things negatively, everyone assumes that you're on the pessimistic kind of side of things, that you're leaning this way. I don't think so anymore. I think these people are wearing rose-colored glasses and pretending that, oh, well, both sides are cults and both sides are extreme. No. Your side has done the most vilification, and you don't have any introspective. You are not willing to look at your own side and admit any fault. So yes, we do have to go harder, because you guys have shown you have no morals. You don't care about the Constitution. You don't care about rights. You don't care about anything other than making liberals mad. You can't be surprised when those liberals form a group to stop you.
You've heard that phrase, right? The anti-Trump tour.
It'd be like, do you think, so if there were like lynch mobs running around like the South, so when there were lynch mobs running around the South, and there were people, so call them the Dixiecrats or whatever, I'm not as boned up on the history to know what political party or affiliation, but say they were all calling themselves one political party. The people that did the lynchings were just one political party. Would you accuse, and it's that mob mentality, so it's not cult, but that mob mentality, everybody goes crazy, and when they're in a group, it diffuses the responsibility, so they do these, terrible harms. If you found that groups of black people were getting together and then just defending themselves, like just, oh, we're going to be in our town, we're going to watch, we're going to have guards, we're going to have, this stuff. The reason, or the argument that this person would make is, well, this is both mob mentality. So you had one mob get together and do a bunch of crazy shit, and then you had the other team. They grouped up, and then now they're saying things like, "Oh, black watch black," watch your black, instead of watch your back. They're saying all these crazy things because they think this side's so evil. So they're a mob and this is a mob. No, do not accept this framing. This is bad framing to accept because it puts everything on even keel when it's not. One side deserves the vilification that they have received, and the other side is simply responding to it.
We're on right now. It's a cult that's against Trump no matter what, right? So we've seen this to where Elon Musk at one point had the Tesla vehicles that a lot of left-wing people were buying. Then, of course, Elon Musk wasn't necessarily supporting Trump at first. He was a Ron DeSantis guy, etc. Then he turned to Trump. Then we saw that after he supported Trump and he donated it to him, we saw a lot of the left wing kind of burn down Teslas and be violent about this, right?
Well, I don't really think that was the only thing he did.
Yeah, I love how we just get to move past the Sieg Heil.
But I think it was also the fact that he joined Trump as an unelected bureaucrat and began unilaterally shuttering federally approved agencies in the government while engaged in the most insane over-the-top rhetoric on X.
What's the most insane over-the-top?
By constantly calling for judges to be impeached or imprisoned, or saying that...
Which judges? I'm not too...
the recent judge that just made a ruling related to... anytime a new TRO gets issued, I think that he's done it for the Zini lawyer. I think he's done it for Brasberg. But he tweets about judges.
So he wanted to get them removed because
he doesn't like it when they issue a TRO against Trump. But wait, just real quick, you're not familiar with Elon engaging in any anti-judicial rhetoric on?
Very important to highlight this. I think this is a big thing. You probably wouldn't do it if you're talking to somebody interpersonally, but if there was an audience, this is important for the audience to know. Why are you so well read on all these other things? Or maybe not even well read. I shouldn't give this guy any credit. He sounds like a fucking moron. But why are you knowledgeable about one set of things that defends your side? You want to talk about these things, you want to talk about these slogans and stuff like that. But then when it comes to this person you brought up this example, you don't know what he's been saying, what he's been tweeting to do this, and you are just going to pretend you're in the dark about all the negatives. It's very convenient in a way that none of us would accept if a child did it, or if a liar did it, or if a thief did it to you. None of us would accept this, but all of a sudden we accept this bullshit when it comes from these fucking losers.
I know Elon Musk has stated that he doesn't like these individuals, which is fair enough. He has his opinion. Right?
But it's not just his opinion, right? He's like the richest man in the world who's...
Yeah, sure, but you have an opinion too. Like, for example,
I'm not an elected official. I don't work in government.
Well, you have a huge influence when it comes to your audience, right?
Yeah, but I don't work in government.
Yeah, but what does that matter? Like, here's the thing.
What does it matter that it works in government?
Well, if I was part of the government and I was calling for another part of the government to be destroyed,
yeah, but I would make an argument that influencers and even actors, etc., actually have more influence on the public than even politicians.
Than most politicians, is
and most
true.
Yeah,
but Donald Trump, because he's a cult leader, probably
sure,
not.
But even with you, I think you have more influence than on the public than most politicians.
Individual, yeah, that's probably true.
Probably true. That's what
than most, for sure, especially city council.
So that's what I'm saying. Like when you say, "Well, I don't work in government," at the same time, I could say, "Yeah, but you have more influence on the public than most politicians." Right?
No, I agree. I was just pointing out why people would probably have such a visceral reaction to everything Elon Musk has done. I think it's super warranted that people would feel horrified by it.
Right. No, yeah, for sure. Okay, I get you there.
No, yeah, for sure.
But I wanted to shoot this back here. When you were stating that, when I was stating that one reason that I think that Donald Trump specifically won this election was also because I think that the left, like you admitted earlier, is notorious for violence, right? We had the BLM.
God, just so silly.
Riots, the Chaz that happened, right, in Seattle, the Tesla burnings. So I think a lot of the people that...
And then I love how he gets to bring up the Tesla burnings, which happened after the election. He gets to bring those up as his evidence. I hope Destiny buries him for stupidity like this, but it seems like it's a more happy-go-lucky thing. It's just, you can't even come up with 3 examples, and none of these examples meet the one example that's the immediate defeater, January 6th, and then this is somebody who's going to say it's a false flag and they won't accept January 6th. So you were genuinely upset about BLM, you were genuinely upset about Chaz, you were genuinely upset about the Tesla burning, which again, after the election, you fucking moron. You're genuinely upset about all those things, but somehow January 6th just, fucking, that's my new thing, by the way. This is the maggot searching for the answers everywhere but in front of their fucking face. Like, what So you're saying it's a bad thing to try and overthrow the government to install yourself as the president when you didn't win the vote. Oh, you know, Black Lives Matter is so much. It's just it's nonsensical. That's why they have to pretend that they don't understand this stuff or they don't know about it.
That voted for Trump was also noticing that the left is absolutely lunatics when it comes to this type of rhetoric. And Maxine Waters, even in 2016, when she was, when Trump won his first term, where she was saying, "Get in the face of MAGA supporters." When I was, because
so stupid. This is taken back. This is exactly what I was just saying. You have people that are maggots in your life. They all the time bring up political shit, and we just sit idly by and we let them do it. Do this no longer. If they want to throw shit out in public, challenge them in public. Let them know. Call their bullshit out publicly. I even have it written down in my notes somewhere. You call the bullshit out publicly. You really have to, because if you don't, it always, 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 always festers. But if you call it out, there's that little bit of discomfort, there's that little bit of pain, but you get over it and you get to the catharsis. Now we're at a point where we're so afraid of the conflict that we don't have any catharsis going on.
Because I'm from South Texas, I would wear a fucking MAGA hat at a bar, and I was getting attacked by people that didn't like that. I think this is what
he was getting attacked. That's the claim.
Drove a lot of people towards Donald Trump to vote for him, wouldn't you say?
I mean, it's possible.
Don't you think it's
what?
kind of a big deal, though?
No, because I think that they don't talk about any of the violence that their side is ever supporting, either explicitly or implicitly at all points in time as well. So how am I supposed to feel bad that people are complaining about Tesla dealerships being burned down, but then they're clapping when people are being deported without due process from this country? I have absolutely no sympathy. And the fact that they can keep doing this hand-wringing of like, the left is so bad and they won't disavow these people, even though the left has to disavow its own side all the time. When Biden...
I don't see any of the left doing that, though.
I don't know how much you're looking at.
Well, I've been...
Absolutely nothing. That's what he's doing. Absolutely nothing. Or this is another thing. You just ignore the ones that I've even seen people do it real time. You ask for an example of something. You're given an example. Oh, here's the example of a Democrat coming through and saying, no, this isn't good. No, this violence is good. Directly calling out the issues with the violence. And then it's, oh, well, that doesn't count.
Dude, I watched your show.
Okay, well, Biden
example,
literally...
you didn't even disavow the assassination of Donald Trump, bro.
I wish. It was the assassination attempt, okay?
Oh, yeah, the assassination...
I'm just kidding.
Hey, but am I right there, Destiny? Come on, man. Come on, man.
Just jokes. So you can have a standard for my behavior. You can talk about whether my behavior is over the line or not, but I think it's very different when you compare the behavior of somebody in government versus me, who's like a pundit.
You're a guy that has more influence than politicians. That's my point.
Yeah, but it's a different type
and
of
the vast
influence.
majority.
It's a different type of influence, though.
Destiny's getting lost in the sauce here. Don't allow yourself to get lost in the sauce here. You need to be able to come back and then give those actual examples on the right. Destiny said, hey, you don't accept these examples on the right, but then he didn't give any examples. Make this guy own that he has no fucking idea. He's going to say he has no idea what happened on January 6th. He's going to say, and by the way, if you're looking for vilification from these, how many people are vilifying January 6th? How many people have come out and said, other than Ben Shapiro saying that January 6th was an insurrection directly after it happening, and then backing off that and turning into a total and complete fucking coward? Let me know when I see some people on the right getting real upset about their violence, and then we'll talk about it.
Though, right?
What's the difference?
There's a different expectation for behavior for things that that I would have versus somebody who's part of the government. Would you agree, or do you think it's the same?
I would agree that your influence would actually affect people's behavior more so than some random person.
No, it's not. It's about the expectation of like behavior or what would be proper. So if I was an elected official and I was working in the executive branch, it means something a lot different for me to say I hate this judge than if I was just like a pundit and I was like I hate this judge. I think
Right.
Those are so you can have a totally different standard expectation of behavior regardless of how many people.
By the way, that right that this guy is doing, this means, at least for me, every person I've ever read their face, and I'm pretty good at reading faces and shit like that, anybody I've ever talked to where they give you that right, they are not listening to you. They're just waiting for their turn to speak.
You influence or not, just based on the role that you occupy.
Yeah. Well, I get you there, but like my point is that
I get you there, but here's exactly what I was going to say regardless of what you said. If you would have said, I have 3 penises and I'm shaking them around, blah, 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 you'd have been like, oh, that's a good point. And let me say exactly what I was going to say.
I think you have way more influence than the vast majority of politicians. So that's why I'm saying, like when you shoot the rhetoric when Corey, fucking don't even remember the guy's last name, Corey something, I don't know. but he passed away, and you were stating something, and you doubled down on Pierce Morgan. You said, fuck Corey, fuck his supporters, etc. I think also with your rhetoric, when you were stating that stuff, I think that leaned a lot of people watching that sit and said, Destiny's a fucking psychopath. I don't want to vote for Kamala Harris or the Democratic Party.
Yeah, but at
wouldn't
some
you say
point,
at
some point, it like, I don't want to change the diaper of a 25-year-old. Like, for somebody to go online and to be making like all of these jokes, as Dave Rubin had, and he was on that episode with me, about the guy that the psychotic dude, that broke into Pelosi's house and was like with a fucking hammer was smacking this dude. It was insane and unhinged. And then again to like have the tears whenever it happens on their side. I think I would rather be unhinged and force the conversation than have to live in this world where the left constantly has to apologize for all of its own stuff and the right pretends that nothing ever happens on their side. Because like the
opposite there.
What?
Yeah, I'm thinking the opposite there, Destiny. Like, it's
What Donald Trump came in and he pardoned every single J6er and nobody on the right cared.
Yeah, well, look, the thing, Joe Biden pardoned his entire family, and like,
listen to the whataboutism. This is why you know this person's a dishonest. What he cared about the most was the violence. It was the violence. I think people changed because the left is so violent. Violent. That is what he said. That's what is the hill he was going to die on. The goalpost that he has said is so many voters on the right, or voters who eventually ended up on the right, only did so because the violence on the left was too much. But then he is brought up where Trump took January 6th. Good on Destiny for not bringing it up in this point, because this guy would just pretend he never heard about it, but brings up the January 6th people, the people who were violent offenders, the people who were violent criminals, who attacked police officers. These people got pardons. And what is his answer? It's not a similar one. It's not, oh, well, there was violence on the left and then those violent criminals were. It is a complete and utter change of those goalposts. Now it doesn't matter about the violence. Now Hunter Biden getting out after his shit and his coke deal, that is the real issue. It's some, oh, well, left, right, oh, well, fairness, blah, blah. No, you said violence. That was your thing. That was the hill that you were going to die on. The violence on the left was too much. And then you get brought up the most violent thing that they saw absolutely no punishment for because they got fucking released. They got fucking pardoned. That gets brought up to you. And your first thing is you bring up non-violent criminals getting pardoned. And Destiny's going to miss it. I'm pretty sure I remember this. Destiny goes on to talk about the pardons and get derailed. But remember this. The important part here is the violent criminals were pardoned. The violence is what you cared about. And then we're about to go on off a whole tangent about whether or not the pardons were good. This is how you get distracted in a conversation. Don't forget, he set the terms. He said violence was the deal breaker. Violence was the deal breaker for all these voters. Violence. Then why the fuck didn't January 6th change anybody's mind, you fucking liar?
What is it, 8,000 people before he left office?
So so two different things. The large swaths of people that were pardoned, that was like a technicality for commuting sentences.
Do you agree that Hunter Biden should have been pardoned?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yes. And I think that because he has no tact or political understanding whatsoever, Donald Trump proved it when Donald Trump complained on, I think it was a NBC interview, and he said, I can't go after any of the people on the J6 Select Committee because Biden pardoned them.
Well, yeah, that's true, though, right?
Yeah, but
it's not like he's lying in there.
It's not like he's lying there. He wanted to politically go after people who charged him for crimes. Like, glad I'm a good dude. Fuck these people. You don't have to be cordial. Good on Destiny for doing it. But you don't have to be cordial when these people just flip-flop on everything. He cared about violence. He cared about violence. He cared about violence. Why are we now talking about this?
He can't go after them.
He wanted to go after them politically. There are no crimes here. He just wants to target. When we've seen this administration, would you agree, has engaged in the targeted lawfare?
I would say that even the Biden administration had the...
Listen to the what about it? No admission. This is where Destiny has to push harder. You have to amp up your rhetoric because they are such trash people.
Targeted log for against Donald Trump as well.
And give one example of that?
Okay, well, for example, what's her name? When the judge went after Donald Trump's real estate, right? He said his real estate over there in Florida,
Mar-a-Lago,
yeah, that shit. It was worth $18 million, right? We can see from the papers that shit's worth at least $600 million. They're going after his real estate to kind of backtrack on him.
Well, yeah, but wait, what does that have to do with Biden?
Well, because it's targeted prosecution.
But it's not
because
Biden.
you asked me the question. Give me.
No, I asked you. Show me something. Donald Trump is writing executive orders, literally targeting.
I'm answering your question though, Destiny. You asked me, give you an example of that.
Biden doing it.
Well, the Democratic Party. Remember.
Remember, it's not about Biden. It's the whole of Democrats that we get to vilify. Any Democrat does anything wrong. But remember, when Trump says the specific thing, that we're not allowed to talk about. So I can't vilify this one individual, but you can group every Democrat that ever lived, and anything bad I have to be responsible for. You haven't been asked 3 direct questions about what Trump has done, and you have dodged all 3 of them to what about, and you moved away from the original thing. You claimed the violence was the most important, and you have completely abandoned that. These people have no spine. These people have no morals. They don't care. This is a whataboutism point, and you have to bury this person. You have to bury this person in the truth.
You guys are the vote blue no matter who party. You guys are the cult of that, right? It's not like you guys go after Donald Trump. When it comes to the Republican Party, it's kind of, I would say, probably 70-30, where it's like MAGA and then Republican, right? Your Nikki Haley's, Mike Pence, etc., the ones that don't support Donald Trump. So it's kind of more divided than the Democratic Party. You guys are a lot more united on that, right?
Donald.
What a fucking stupid point to make. This person is just a fucking moron. You guys are more united in that way. Insane. Once Trump says that he's running, you all bend over or suck. That is the only thing that you do. You're the fucking worst. And then saying something like that, accusing of the other side, is so tone deaf and stupid. It honestly... This is where I think that this person is intentionally bad faith.
Trump literally, like ejected his entire...
When it comes to Trump, guys, when it comes to Trump, everybody from the progressive side, from the liberals, all of you guys are anti-Trump. I mean, this is just a big...
but I mean...
When it comes to Hitler, you guys are just anti-Hitler. You don't have to be this hateful. He's just Hitler. He's just a guy.
Like, wouldn't that make sense if the guy is so divisive? And the Republicans are super pro-Trump. Like, the approval rating...
You mean the MAGA Republicans?
No, I mean Republicans. I mean,
like Nikki Haley's super pro-Trump?
Yeah, they all support her.
No, she's not, dude.
You can say that, but Donald Trump, the only thing that was buoying his approval for so long was the fact that on the Republican side, literally no matter what he did, it was like 88%, 92%, 87%, 90% approval. Like, yeah, it had a pretty wide...
So 9 and 10 doesn't count. You can't lump in all Republicans together when the candidate that they support, they have 90% support for. That is improper. He is saying you can't lump us all in together because I can name 2 people that don't like him. But we, the Democrats, and Biden has to answer for everything that happened to Trump under a certain time. So you don't even know the affiliation. It didn't sound like he had a firm grasp of that court case or anything like that. But somehow... Biden, Destiny, every Democrat has to answer for that lawfare, as it's called, that lawfare. But when we point out this, oh yeah, 90% of you fucking support this, well, no, they don't, because here's one that doesn't. Is that what we get to do?
I support from the majority of the Republican Party.
No, yeah, for sure. But like,
but just on the thing. So like, because I can think of several horrible like legal targeting things that Donald Trump has led, but. Can you think of anything that Biden or Biden's administration, so not a judge in Florida, but like something that Biden ordered? Because that judge could just be an asshole judge, right?
Yes, thank you, Destiny. Thank you. Why do we have to take responsibility for every single thing that happens to every negative thing that happens to Trump? We have to take responsibility for, even if it's not necessarily a Democrat doing it. But you can absolve yourself of all responsibility of the Republicans supporting this person who just does terrible shit over and over and over again by one person not supporting. Oh, well, it's not all of them. It's not all of them because this one person does it. You're the worst.
Biden on that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like when it comes to the Democratic, I'll tell you this: Biden, of course, he was the face of the Democratic Party for 4 years, right?
Yeah,
you can say that. Also, the Democratic Party as a whole, that's what I'm saying. Where you guys are a lot more notorious for violence, and that's why I'm saying my point here is that a big reason why Donald Trump won that election, not only because of the assassination attempt, right, which you said you wish the bullet hit him, that would have been the best thing. Didn't happen, thank God.
I didn't say those words exactly, but...
Well, something along those lines. I think you said it with Rob Noor or somebody along those lines. I can't remember exactly.
You got about a minute, Jake.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. But my point is that I think that with that type of rhetoric, along with, for example, you guys lying about Joe Biden's mental health, right?
Listen to the you guys. This is an entire umbrella. We are all responsible for everything. There's no chance we didn't know that. There's no chance we didn't. There's no chance that people had different opinions on it. It was a cover-up, top-down. Every Democrat is culpable for this. But remember, just because there's one, Nikki Haley doesn't support Trump, there's a huge portion of Republicans that are separate from maggots that we get to rely on where, oh, they don't support Trump no matter what, because you can name one person, but I'm responsible for this whole, everything that the Democrats do, I'm wholly responsible for.
That was another big one. Jake Tapper on
Why do you
CNN.
assume that people lied about his health and weren't just either coping or?
Well, even well, that's my point here. Even Jake Tapper.
Wait, you can't say that's.
Jake Tapper is literally writing a book about how he covered up, CNN covered up Joe Biden.
If there was a coordinated
mental
effort to cover up Joe Biden's mental health, why did they let that debate happen?
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Well, no, you can't just say that's
they
the
let
thing.
it happen.
Yeah, that's the thing. You just throw that out.
Yes. Totally
This
contradicts the
is
entire
why.
narrative
This
you
is
gave.
why they let it happen specifically because they let it happen. They let him train for like what, a week or something like that by him.
Yeah, no shit. You train for a debate,
They
dumbass.
wanted to
What,
prep
like
him for that
200
because
times
they couldn't
gravity? What does that
avoid.
mean?
They can't avoid a debate.
Of course, Trump dodged the debate when he was running. What do you mean?
Yeah, well, Biden. That's the thing. They let Biden debate. He got totally smashed, right? But
I don't
the
understand
matter-
how if there was a whole coordinated effort to cover up Biden's senility, why would they ever let him
years
debate?
prior before they couldn't hold it up for so long. They let him debate. They had to do it eventually.
What? No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
Well, then that's gonna make them look bad. when
Didn't
it comes
Donald
to the
Trump
election.
avoid a second debate with Kamala? Didn't Donald Trump avoid debating any of the
He didn't.
Nikki
He didn't
Haley
need to,
or
he didn't need
DeSantis?
to debate Kamala, bro.
This is the
Because
all roads lead to
well,
Rome
no,
thing,
it's
right?
not,
So he can
because-
do the
well,
exact
here's the
same
thing,
behavior you said that Biden couldn't get away with doing.
Well,
but-
Destiny, look at it like this, dude. You're a top tier debater. Why would you, unless you get something? In other words, debating me, you get nothing out of this, right? The only thing that gets something out of this debate is me, right? So when Trump is gonna debate Kamala for the second time, he gets nothing out of that. At that point, Joe Biden looks like a moron. The assassination attempt already happened. The only thing Donald Trump has to do is just fuck it. I don't care to debate Kamala.
So if there's reason, so what he's saying is Biden had to do the debate. There's no way that Biden could have avoided doing the debate. There's no way that if they were doing this top-down thing where they were trying to hide it, there's no way that they couldn't do the debate. But just because a couple of things were in Trump's favor and because Trump felt like it, he doesn't have to debate.
Because he feels he already has the debate in the
I
bag.
understand the
He doesn't need to do
political
that.
savvy that goes into this,
Well,
to the
yeah, but then
calculation,
what-
but I'm
because
just
you
saying
asked
that
why he avoided that second debate.
Yes,
Tell
and you're
me
giving
this
me
is
the
why.
logical
These are facts.
reason, but when we look at Biden doing a debate, if he was truly being covered for by the entire Democratic establishment, then it stands to reason that they would find reasons for him not to do the debate.
Yeah, but they had to do it eventually, right?
No, they don't.
No! Oh my God, this guy is so frustrating. This will be our last one on this. But he just literally proved his point. These are people that are willing to argue one thing out of one side of their mouth, but then you just put Biden in there, and then he is saying no. There are legitimate reasons why a president in a presidential campaign can miss a debate because they feel they have an advantage, is what he said, because he feels he already had it in the bag, because they already had XYZ already happen, and he felt that he didn't need the advantage. But somehow, when it's Biden, oh, they had to eventually do it. Well, did they have to do it? Because with Trump, they didn't have to. Oh, well, that's different. How? You're not
yes,
giving me
they
anything
do.
They
real.
just say we don't do debates. He's too divisive.
Okay, and then they're gonna lose the election. This is why it's like
They lost anyway. No?
By your own logic, Trump missed the debate and he didn't.
Oh,
And yeah, they lost anyway, so sure, so it didn't work. But that's what I'm saying. I think the Democratic Party probably should have got rid of Biden earlier, and then put in Kamala Harris. Which, by the way, nobody here voted for Kamala Harris to be the representation of the Democratic Party.
Sure, so
even
let's
though
say-
Trump is is obviously the threat to democracy. There,
well,
right?
because in 2020 he tried to make it so none of the votes mattered, and he could just have Pence say who won the election. I would say that's probably worse. The issue with the story, the narrative you're giving, is that like, how is it that the Democrats were all in lockstep? Like, there's two stories. Either people were genuinely torn on like, is he just old? Is he actually senile? What's going on? And they just kind of like kept it going, because why would you take out a person who just beat this guy in the last election? Why would you run somebody different and get rid of your incumbent advantage and get rid of a guy who already beat? Like that? That's a really
Probably
extraordinary.
because he has mental health
That's
issues.
fine, but like,
That would be
were
the
they
thing.
were they genuinely confused about that, or was there a top-down plot to cover up how senile he was the entire time that went through all of the media and all of the presidency, but they weren't strong enough to just not have one debate?
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, here's the thing, Jake's
Exactly. I love that you just hear the audience laugh there. You've built up a situation so ridiculous that to walk into this and just say, oh, well, yeah, is just so stupid. You are stepping on a rake, but the rake was laid down in front of you and explained to you how rakes work right before you took your step.
Tapper, and here's the thing: you want to paint the picture to where it's like, okay, they wanted to cover it up. Even Jake Tapper in CNN, who is writing a book about this called "The Cover Up," on Joe Biden's health.
Do you normally cite Jake Tapper on the things you believe, or just in this one time?
Oh my God, that's such a good point. Holy shit. That is a really good thing. Don't use selective sources just because they happen to agree with you this one time. If any other time they said anything against you, you would have completely thrown out the
Yeah,
source.
dude. Yeah, I watch CNN plenty of times, man. I watch.
Do you
CNN,
normally
I watch
cite
yourself,
CNN as a
etc.
credible source? As like a
I could cite him at times. Yeah,
I could cite him at time. What a
sure.
pathetic
When
piece
he
of